Hello and live from the infamous Murph's Pub, I'm Jeremy Taylor and welcome to this week's Wednesday Night Undressed, the podcast that reaches into the wobbly places other podcasts dare and venture. We don't claim to look at things scientifically, but we definitely have all the answers to your mysteries, vegetable, animal and mineral. We know the kings and queens of England and questions most political. In short, we can explain matters mathematical, physical and medical. We are the only naked podcast you can undress to on a Wednesday night whilst wallowing in your bath. And let me introduce tonight's panel. Jane, Julian, Meredith, Chris, Cassidy,
Hi.
Fernando, Evo, Lewis, and Mr. Alex. And we're very impressed that we actually have someone who has come all the way from Canada to join us via LA. It's been a long trek, but he has made it. So, yes, we've got all sorts of questions. First of all, the other night, we had the first snowfall of the season. And my question is, are you pro or anti-snow, Cassidy?
I absolutely love the snow. It's like my favorite form of precipitation.
It's
it's
your
amazing.
favorite form of what?
Precipitation.
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 Prestidigitation.
Are we in English class right now? What's going on here?
You know, like rain and hail and snow.
Oh, that precipitation. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And do you go and roll in it and make starmen and things like that?
Starmen.
Or star
Snow
women?
angels.
Snow angels.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't mock. It's not
I
fair.
love the snow.
What do you do in it?
You make snow angels and you go outside and you get frostbite and it's just a fun time.
Okay.
And you can slay.
Slay?
Slay, queen.
All right.
Slide. You can slide.
Chris, is it your favorite time of year? Are you pro or anti-snow?
Oh, I'm definitely pro snow. I'm waiting. Hopefully, we get a good series of cold weather so that Snow Creek can put down a nice pack and I can ride my snowboard.
You ride on a snowboard.
And hopefully later this year around New Year's, we'll be visiting my mom in Evergreen, Colorado, and do some riding out there.
Oh, it's sort of. When you say riding, do you mean?
That's what on a snowboard.
Oh, you ride a snowboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean like a snowboard?
Snowboard,
Like not a snowmobile.
Strap my 2 feet into it.
Right. Okay, just making sure.
White people stuff.
I wasn't going to say it, but
I mean, it is.
I'm glad you got my back.
I've
Yeah,
seen
got you, bro.
some black people out on the slopes
No,
before.
you haven't.
I have
Listen,
too.
black people have crazy people too.
I took lessons from a black guy at Snow Creek like 3-4 years ago.
Again, 1 out of 10.
Okay, I'm going to ask Alex because I think in Canada they have snow, don't they?
Once in a while, like 8 months of the year.
You noticed? Have you noticed, boys and girls, that although Canada is actually English, British, he has this slightly weird French accent. So I'm glad my wife's not there here because she'd quite like that. You know, she's very naughty. They're naughty, the French, aren't they? Naughty, don't you know that?
Who is she with right now?
Well, I don't know, to be truthful, but who can tell? Yes. So tell me, Alex, snow. Do you get pissed off with it after a while?
Well, actually, it's interesting because in Canada, when it's very cold, like -40, the snow is called angel dust because there is zero humidity. So the snow is just like a sand. You cannot do the snowball from this because it's a sand. There is zero humidity. So it's really beautiful. And the Northern Light, that's amazing. That's something that everybody must see.
How many? I was in Norway, and the roads get cut into the snowbanks, and people even they build garages for their vehicles in the snow and things like that. Is that something you guys do? Or is it not that heavy duty?
Not too much snow to do that, to be honest. Like, I mean, you need to have maybe a couple of feet or more snow to do that. But in Calgary, where I lived, there was not too much snow to do that.
You telling me the Olympics was lying when they had all that snow up there? Bro.
Vancouver.
It's a terrible thing. What, that Olympics? Lewis.
Alex,
1988.
is there a connection between the Northern Lights and snow? Do you get like more intense Northern Lights? When it
Yeah,
snows?
usually in the winter, like around November or December, it's more common to see the northern lights.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Julian, snow. What do you think?
I am a snow lover. I absolutely love snow. One of my lifelong dreams has to have like a lot of snow. I love winter. Like I want to one day have like 3 feet of snow. That just seems so fun.
Have you never done lots of snow? Have you not had?
No,
lot-
the most I've had is like, I'm pretty sure like a foot, right?
Probably.
Probably about a foot.
Yeah. and
Well,
I've
you could
always
drive
wanted more.
north, couldn't you? You could drive north.
I
and
can't
get-
drive. That's
You
the
could
problem.
go north. Jane, what about snow and you?
I'm a little bit of both, pro and anti snow. I love winter just like everybody else, but if it inconveniences me, then I get really irritated. But I hate being hot. I hate being hot. It pisses me off. I get super irritated. So I do appreciate the cold.
I agree.
I just don't like it when, oh shit, I'm running late. Now I gotta brush the car off and yada. Yeah, that's the only time I get irritated. If I can just cozy up, book, wine, snow, out the window, it's beautiful. I love it.
Evo, what about you and snow?
So I grew up with a lot of snow, and I've always loved snow. So since I was a child, I have so many snow memories. You know, I love all kinds of snow: dry snow, powder snow, wet snow, Edward Snowden, anything that has snow.
Chocolate
Anything
snow.
with snow is I'm fine with. I used to go twice a year to ski camp. Everybody in Bulgaria, at least in the city where I grew up, skis. So since they're like 3 years old, I would go to ski camp twice a year. In the mountains, you're completely isolated from the civilization. You just ski. To get there, I had to go on a 6-hour track, carrying my skis on my shoulder in like waist deep in snow. So it was very treacherous and hard, but snow was everywhere in the winter. Not anymore. We haven't had like a very, very snow-rich winter for a while in Bulgaria. Same thing here. When I came here in the early 90s, we had a lot of real winters. And what, the last 5-6 years, have we really had like a real snow that would stay on the ground for a few days? No. So this dandruff that we got yesterday, I don't think that's snow. That doesn't count. I'm kind of hoping to have a real voluptuous, snowy winter, you know. I hate driving on it, but it's doable. And if I can't drive, I can't drive. Nowadays, we can work from home if necessary. In Bulgaria, we had snow tires. I'm sure the same thing was in Canada. Come November, people start changing their tires. And we drive in the mountains with chains on the tires as well. So you can go through almost anything. We are kind of unprepared here for this kind of stuff. We really don't have real winters. So on some level, I would love to see feet and feet of snow. On another level, you know, I'm a little worried. And finally, I went up with my favorite snow memory. It was with Lewis. We went to Chicago, driving to Chicago.
Get to Chicago.
We didn't get to Chicago because my car decided to lose its transmission. So we were in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, in a place where there's only corn and nothing else. But in the winter, there's no corn. So there was nothing else. And that's where we were.
Was it just a white void?
Just a white, giant void, a lot of snow, and it was minus 20 degrees. And we ended up somehow finding a lifesaver, which was a Motel 6, I believe.
Yep.
And we ended up staying there for like several days while waiting for the car to get fixed. And we made a snowman with Lewis and my daughter. And
Made
my,
Lewis into a snowman? Is that?
we made a snowman together. And it was a disaster because it was super cold and our fingers were frozen. And we couldn't really work on the snowman. We just piled up a lot of snow. It was this shapeless mass that we named Snuda after Buddha because it looked a little bit like Buddha made out of snow. And it was glorious. And everybody at the motel thought we were completely insane. And that
you
was my
remember?
Chicago memory with Lewis.
Well, I was going to ask Lewis what his best memory was, but so I guess that's been taken.
Wow,
Yeah.
he's got something else.
Evo, do you remember the fantastic show we discovered on that trip? It was the first time we had ever watched Cash Cab.
Oh yeah, that's right. Cash Cab.
my.
That's what we ended up doing. We ended up watching TV nonstop, and it was Cash Cab that first came out, and we were addicted to it.
Yes, yes. All right. So my snow memory. Well, I'm listening to my son talk about snow, and Jules, when I was, I'm guessing 26 years old, I lived in Pennsylvania, and we had 102 inches of snow one
Hell
time.
no.
So we literally walked outside, and I lived on a second story apartment where all the apartments opened to the outside, and it was on the side of a hill, and my apartment door faced the hill, so I could walk out of my door and just keep going because the snow had gotten so high that the first floor was completely covered, and I actually spent my morning digging the people in the first floor out so that they could get out of their door.
That happened to my mom's house once
Yeah.
out in
That's like
Colorado.
8.5 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
It's way too much damn snow.
By
is
the
what it
time the
is.
snow was done, it was 10.5 feet tall. And if you can imagine, like, when they plowed the streets, like basically, when you came to a four-way intersection, like, there was just a wall of snow. There were four corners that you couldn't see around as you were driving. So it was insane, but it is probably the best winter memory that I have because it's just snow for days. When the plows came to plow out the driveway of this apartment building, it would just scoop up the cars as it was carrying the snow, and so it would push the snow along, and like people would find their cars upside down or stacked like roof to roof on top of each other. Yeah, it was an ungodly mess, but it was fantastic as far as snow goes.
Meredith, what about yourself and snow?
Freaking hate snow.
Good for you.
Freaking hate snow. I need snow one day a year on Christmas, and that's it. And I want it to be dissipated and gone by the very next day. And that is the only time I need snow in my life. I am originally from the South. Screw snow. No.
If I want snow for
And
my
there is
birthday.
I suggest you move somewhere where I'm not living so you can have snow for your birthday. Absolutely hate it. Driving everywhere. Some of us don't have the luxury of working from home, so having to drive to a retail store in snow throughout winter is a pain in the ass.
What
that I don't
what
wanna
are the
deal with.
requirements? I mean, if there really is genuinely a foot of snow out there, do you just expect staff not to turn up?
Yeah. I go and I burn a day's worth of my money that I was supposed to make that day. I lose the hours that I was supposed to make that day. Sometimes we close, but a lot of, literally, there was one day last year where I worked in my store the entire day by myself.
It's
think we made
ironic because
$100.
your story is named Five Below.
I mean, you said it, but I'm not. But no, I freaking hate snow. Like, I've never been a fan. And it's pretty, like when it's coming down, and I just want it to evaporate as soon as it hits the ground. That's the only way And snow sports? Oh, hell no. Like, seriously? Like, you want me to strap 2 pieces of wood to my feet and go hurtling down a mountain? What idiot came up with that sport?
It's a lot of fun. It's an
No, it is
adrenaline
not
rush.
fun.
It
Death is not fun.
I think it was a suicide attempt that went wrong, and the guy was like, "Damn, it's fun."
Bro, no.
That was after
no.
cross-country
Very
skiing.
strong
That,
feelings there.
Okay, so that deals with snow. Next
Hold on.
question.
Fernando.
Two people. There's Fernando, and then there's you, Jeremy.
Well, Fernando comes from Brazil. He's never seen snow.
So, yes.
On that note.
So, what was the question?
We just had the
Snow.
first snowfall of the season. Are you pro or
No.
anti-snow?
You know, it's that love and hate, you know. If I need to work and, shovel the whole sidewalk, and by the way, I don't have garage, and, clean the cars and drive interstate, that's a pain in the ass. But, if you're, traveling and can be joyful, I really like, some sports, and I don't like to be freezing on a cold, but it's nice. It was It's good to see. It took me, I think first time I saw snow was I was probably 22 years old.
I know that for me, coming from England, we have snow occasionally. But some might say I'm a serial exaggerator. But I don't understand how it is, and you Americans might want to answer this, so the foreigners don't answer this. But why does your driving test last 20 minutes on a good day, and in the UK, for instance, it's most of a day? You take exams and you've got to do full-blown driving tests, you've got to learn how to control the vehicle and everything else. When we drive to St. Louis to watch a hockey match or something, and the snow, we will count 25, 35 cars on their roofs and trucks, and people just drive like they normally drive if there's snow.
You're driving to Missouri is the first problem there.
It depends on where you learn to drive. I learned to drive in Michigan, so one of the things that you basically have to learn is how to handle a car on snow.
Right.
And I passed my driver's test because in like the first 5 minutes, because I hit a patch of ice and I handled it so well that the guy cut it short early and said, as soon as you hit that patch of ice and handled it, I knew you could handle yourself. So I basically passed you then and there.
Wow.
And, up in Michigan, you'll get a pack of snow. You'll get like 4 or 5 inches of packed snow that the plows cannot get. So you're always have to maintain control of your vehicle. Here in Kansas, people don't drive on it regularly, and they think they can just drive.
I came here from the UK, right? And so after a while, I had to get a driving license. To get a driving license, I had to take my test. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I passed first time on the second attempt. And the reason for that was because one of the questions was, what do you do if your vehicle is sliding off the pavement? And I thought, well, proceed carefully, if you're already on the pavement, you're in trouble. And I thought it was some sort of trick question. So I don't know what I wrote, but something. And I walk up to the lady, hand her my piece of paper, and she said, "You have so failed. And you must have been driving for 30 years already." And I went, "Yeah." I said, "But what about this, what happens if you're sliding off the pavement? What are you doing on the pavement in the first place?" She goes, "Here we call the pavement the road." And so I realized then that it was one of these American trick questions set up to get us Brits.
Jeremy.
Julian.
I think the lady just
The
didn't
common
like
language
you,
that
Jeremy.
separates us.
I think the examiner.
That probably might have been it. Who's going next? Julian.
How do you do it the first time, the second time?
I passed first time on the second attempt.
But that's not the first time, because that's the second attempt.
The first time on the second attempt.
Is there a...
But that's you're
That's
on the
just your second attempt.
Julian, you're going into the hole. You're going into the rabbit hole.
How many
okay?
attempts are per time?
Bless you.
You did here. You did the first time, right? You failed the first one.
No, listen,
on the
let me
second
explain to you. Generally speaking, taking the broad view, when one is doing an exam like this, one tends to look at the things that you have to do the exam with, and then, generally speaking, you find out whether or not this is something that you want to take seriously. If you do want to take it seriously, then you will take advice.
So this is the
reading
bullshit answer.
Should we move on to the next
He
question, or
failed.
would you like me to
He
keep going?
failed. Just one thing that's going to be interesting to Meredith. We had so much snow. I had a 20-minute walk to high school, and I had mini skis, and I would walk through the city. I would slide on the mini skis to school.
I would have taken my own ass to the adoption agency and got myself adopted to go to another country.
And then a lot of students actually carried their skis to school. We ended school at 1 p.m. and we took the streetcars to the beginning of the gondola lift, as the mountain starts from the city. And after school, we would go to the top of the mountain and ski for the rest of the afternoon. It was absolutely glorious. It was
The
wonderful.
gondola? Although you were in bleeding Bulgaria, not Vienna.
Sounds like a rapper.
Gondola.
Venice.
Yeah, it's different kind of gondola, Jeremy. You
Oh,
don't understand.
A
You don't
blue
have mountains
gondola.
in Britain.
Dear, well, sometimes. If you haven't heard, in case you haven't heard, Elon Musk, the guy who has a sports car circling the moon, Twitter purchase is all over the news because it seems that it's not going the way he had hoped. Are you a Twitter user? Have you felt any changes since his takeover? What are your expectations, Jane?
Well, he's a twat. so I don't have any expectations. But I don't facey tweet Graham, so I don't social media.
You don't do Twitter?
I don't do any
Twitter.
social media whatsoever.
All right. I'm looking at Evo. Evo is looking at
What
me.
about Elon Musk?
Is this going to be a half-hour answer or 50?
No.
What do you reckon? What do you think about Mr. Elon?
For him taking over Twitter?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, he fired everyone, almost everyone. Then he discovered he needs people to run a multinational corporation, so he's starting rehiring them. I am starting to dislike him intensely because it is quite obvious that he's developing a god complex.
A what? A god complex.
Oh, he already
Yeah.
has.
Yes. Right.
Well, I don't know if he had it since in the beginning, but I think he's undertaking more and more and more diverse activities, and now he also wants to be a media magnate, which I don't know if he needs that. He was doing really good things with Tesla, with space exploration, and so on and so on. But now I'm listening to him and his relatively grandiose statements, and it certainly creates an impression that the guy has a superiority complex at this point. He comes in at Twitter, doesn't do much research, overpays by billions and billions of dollars for it, and he's trying to make it profitable in 1 week by slapping an artificial fee for some blue check mark for verified accounts and whatnot. It's a very, very simplified approach to running this massive business that has become very dangerous in the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe more. And I think he has a very simplistic approach to solving a complicated problem. I don't trust him. I don't like him. I'm worried about him, and that's my opinion. And also, I don't fucking use Twitter. I have a Twitter account. I deliberately avoid it because it's become insanely toxic and frankly dangerous.
Julian.
My thing with Elon Musk, I'm convinced half the stuff he does is just because he's rich and that he knows he is, and so he can get away with most things with very little backlash. And I think buying Twitter was a really stupid thing, but very funny thing to do. Like, because hear me out. You're this big company, and this guy is trying to get some shares. You're like, you can have them. And then he's just like, no, I want the whole company. Come on, give me. And what are you going to do? And he didn't care he was overpaying. He's still like the richest
He
guy.
cared. He tried to back out.
Nah, but he's the richest guy.
Yeah, he tried to back out.
I don't use Twitter. It's horrible. If you say one wrong thing, the odds of your address getting put everywhere are pretty high. You could say, I dislike this group of actors, and, you'd be getting sent death threats.
I used Twitter for a little while. I stopped during the previous administration because it just gave me too much anxiety. So now basically I literally only use it because I'm a reality show junkie. I literally only use it to see what housewife everybody agrees with. I have not opened the app since he bought it. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's actually incredibly intelligent. It doesn't mean that intelligent people aren't dumb in other areas. I just because you're good at one thing doesn't make you good at all things. So I think he bit off way more than he could chew, which is why he tried to back out. And now he's screwed. And that's what happens when you do dumb shit.
You had mentioned that you think he's intelligent. Does that apply to Twitter at all?
No, I don't think the purchase of Twitter was intelligent.
I follow.
To say that he's an idiot is not accurate. He's very intelligent, obviously, again, with Tesla and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean that he is smart at all things. I mean, I'm not going to my accountant for legal advice.
Right.
I go to you for that.
Bingo.
While I feel bad for the employees of Twitter, I'm really enjoying my schadenfreude that I feel watching Elon Musk just flame out spectacularly. He's got some intelligence, but again, he was basically a a white boy born on third base to a wealthy family. He got lucky when PayPal bought out his payment company, made a bunch of money there. Basically thought he was a genius. He really didn't get Tesla started. He bought into that one, and he really mucked that one up quite a bit. SpaceX is another one where, he didn't really do much with that. It's just more one of those things where he just kind of put some people together and they did a bunch of stuff, and then he got, into these weird things like the Boring Company, where he thought that he'd dig a bunch of tunnels underneath Los Angeles, California,
The most seismic.
which is subject to lots of earthquakes, and
Yeah.
what you're going to take the structure of a major city and make it worse.
Yeah.
Was it
California-
not
I didn't say he was
funny,
an
the most
engineer, okay?
phallic-
But it's
Rocket.
again. I can't remember if it was Evo or Meredith who said it. He got basically too big for his britches. He's one of these technology guys who thinks that I learned. I've been really good in this one area. I got lucky here, and now I can do this. And he's sort of realizing that, running a company, and particularly one that it's not even in the top 20 of the social media companies, if I remember right. And, he expects to make a bunch of money off of this thing when, the what is the product is, the people watching it, not basically the commercials you sell.
Talking to someone I know in a similar media company who's just moved positions to another media company, is very pleased that he made the move he did when he did it, because there's all these Twitter employees, and he thinks shortly all these Facebook employees as well,
Yeah.
and then possibly other employees are suddenly going to be on the market. But there is also a rumor that there may be someone might start, some of these employees might get together and start their own version.
Oh, they
So
should.
I don't know whether that would happen or not. Cassidy, what do you think? Do you tweet?
Okay, I don't tweet, but I do sometimes open the app. Okay,
What does that mean?
I like, okay, when I'm really bored, like this one time when I was really bored, I opened the app and then it was still boring. Also, I've opened it since his purchase of it, and I don't see any changes, like, at all. But I'm not that observant when it comes to Twitter. Anyway.
Or life.
Elon Musk also is clearly not, like, that mentally stable by the name of his child, which is X-Ash A12, which is just a great name for any 2-year-old.
I can't wait to see what that kid decides to go by when he finally grows up and realizes what his name is.
That's my opinion on the whole thing. It's
Please, Dad, can you call
bad.
me Andrew?
Yeah, exactly.
Fernando.
The guy is, amazing. I think SpaceX, there was a good contribution for the technology, but he's a little off rails. Like I'm kind of. Twitter is a troll planet. Like I usually, every time I go to Twitter, is just to go there and be reporting every crazy Republican. And I don't know, the Donald Trump Jr. account's still up. I report the guy every day. I don't know, the censors, I don't know how much you're gonna change. But I'm not a big fan of the guy.
I don't think anybody.
I don't even know how to get on to Twitter. I mean, I
You should. I will create an account for
I
you.
have an account, I believe,
have-
but
you're
I
gonna pay
have
for
to
the
look
blue
it
check
up to see
verification?
what it is.
So I'm going to push back on what you said, Chris, because I am not at all sure that what he's done is failing. Like the fiasco with the blue check marks is only a fiasco in that people used it in a way that he didn't anticipate.
How did they use it?
They basically used it to impersonate other people. So
That was pretty impressive.
it was
whole lot of
masterful.
media to
Yeah.
come up with
Yeah.
It was kind of masterful. But as far as like making the money that he made, like he first tossed it out there that he was going to charge people $20 a month for that blue check mark. And people got up in arms, so he just lowered it to $8 a month, and people were, okay, that's fine. Like, that's genius. So, like, Twitter's definitely having growing pains right now, but the truth of the matter is, he's got a legion of people out there that are willing to pay $8 a month for a blue icon next to their name.
Yeah.
Like,
but how many does he have that will pay $8, and how many of them will regularly pay $8 a month to do that? And is that going to be enough to pay off the billions that Twitter owes on its debt? Not to mention potential fines from the government because of the consent decree, I think is what it is, that they have on him for these kinds of changes have to be approved by I think it's the FTC that has this. And when he's having people that he's getting the blue check marks and basically impersonating companies like Eli Lilly, that then pisses off Eli Lilly, and they say, oh no, we're not going to give you advertising dollars anymore. I mean, I know that advertising was not one of their big money producers at the time. But
to be fair, Twitter has never had a money producer. Like,
agreed.
Twitter has never made money. So anything that he makes from this Twitter deal is like a plus point.
But how can you say that? Well, I'm making $8 off these guys who are, I've made one round of $8 from all these people who made all these fake accounts, but then I lost all this money from all these advertisers who are pulling their money out now.
But it's been 2 weeks, and the advertisers haven't pulled out their money. The advertisers are pissed, but
no, they're stopping their ad buys. So that means that in the coming months, his revenue is going to go into the toilet.
See, that's what I'm going to be interested to see, but I haven't seen it yet.
And there's possibly lawsuits because of the 3 top people that were fired right off the bat. Are they going to sue because of
Does he care if they sue?
I know, it's not a matter of whether or not he cares.
Right.
It's whether or not this is going to be a further burden on the company, money he has to spend out to pay for lawyers, to handle the lawsuits. He's got money coming in, but now he's got all this other money going out. You got to look at the balance sheet.
Yeah, no, I agree that it is a possibility, but things have not gone bad enough yet that I would engage in the Schadenfreude with you. Like I'm not there yet. I'm not convinced that what Elon is doing is going to.
Excuse, please. Excuse, please.
Schadenfreude. It's taking joy in the misery of others.
Failures of others.
It's a German word.
Twitter has become a kind of a cesspool of hatred, disinformation. It's where truth goes to decay and die. It's become such a horrible place, and it's got like the Lord of the Ring doesn't have that many trolls. It's just freaking place is just troll after troll after troll, and this guy takes over and says, you know what? I need
more trolls.
We need more trolls. Exactly, Chris. We need to, take the harness off completely. This guy is not good now for society, for technology. He's becoming quickly a self-obsessed narcissist. He's firing people, doesn't care about people. He's creating, like Chris said, some really stupid companies. The boring company, now that he has the domain, he can just transfer it to Twitter because, Cassidy, you said it's becoming boring. It's perfect marriage. Just rename it to Boring Company.
Right, and one thing I don't think is smart is how he made it where you can't change your name on Twitter. That's just kind of stupid. Yeah. Like I know Doja Cat does this thing where she changes her name pretty often. It's like Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving.
What about ladies when they get married, or men when they get married to ladies?
I don't know.
Change their names.
What
Surely
about
they
ladies
must.
getting married to ladies?
Do they change their name?
Yeah, that's
so
what I mean.
So I'm thinking what he should do is give it like a cooldown so people can't just keep changing every
Hoe
day.
down.
I said cool down.
Oh, cool down, right.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Hoe down.
Just hold down.
Yeehaw! Grab your partner, spin her around.
Interesting.
I don't think
Element left and turn to your partner.
I don't think Musk
Go
is
see Joe, turn to the left.
Yeah.
Right.
Jane, are you all right? Let's give Jane a minute.
I think it's time to move on, girls and boys,
Jane's thinking about the hold
because we're
on.
getting too deep.
So the winning business model for social media is not paid accounts. It's harvesting information. That's what Facebook is. It's not an information company. It's a harvesting information company. Then you sell the information you harvest. That's what Twitter needs to do to figure out how to do, because they weren't able to. They couldn't come up. I did this. I advertised on Facebook for my company since the very beginning of Facebook, and it was incredibly efficient. It was shockingly efficient targeted advertising. And it was, for the first 5-6 years, it was incredible returns. And Facebook, that's how they became a massive financially winning company. Twitter could not figure out how to do this. My company doesn't advertise on Twitter. It doesn't work. They're not as effective at harvesting information. So it just became a simple disinformation company and a troll company. He's got to figure out other way to monetize it.
Let's move on to the next question I've got. We're at the end of 2022, nearly at the end, and 6 of the top 10 grossing movies are all based on characters from comic books. This is where we need our friend Jason here. How long do you think the trend will continue, Lewis?
So, actually, I think it's going to go on pretty indefinitely. My expectation is that this is kind of the new norm, that there has been easily 75, if not 80 years of consistent storytelling from the comic book medium, and it's something that's been ignored by Hollywood largely until now. And so there's entire storylines, plots, fully developed universes that are all sitting there just waiting for somebody to profit off them. And we've got to the point where CGI now makes it so that the idea of watching a guy fly with a cape on isn't ridiculous. Like, we're all at the point where we can suspend disbelief enough.
Well, you know that. We've got Eva.
I did just fine with Superman, but I understand what you're saying about special effects. I mean, the original. I mean, talking about the Christopher Reeve Superman movie. I mean, when that came out, and I was under 10 years old, that I was totally enthralled with that movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like we've always had like some kind of sci-fi special effect laden entertainment for our age group. Like Jeremy, he just played with rocks when he was a kid, but. For our age group, like, we are the first group that really got that experience of watching people fight with lightsabers or,
really good special effects as opposed
Were
to...
you actually old enough to go and watch the first Star Wars?
No, I wasn't.
Really?
I was alive, but yeah, my family didn't go out to movies then. So.
Oh, that's right. You were
I was Jehovah's Witness, so yeah.
No. So you didn't get to witness.
I was
I'm right there with you
5
guys.
or 6.
I watched Superman the movie 20,000 times.
I
mean, it was
that's a little bit of an exaggeration, Jane, isn't it?
Not really.
Oh, it is.
No, we had these things called videotapes, Jeremy, where we could watch the same movie that we liked over and over. Yeah.
What?
Every time.
I actually went to the theaters. What are you talking about? You could watch like 3 or 4 movies in a day. Yeah. Just run to the bathroom, wait for a few minutes, and then run back into the next theater. Yeah.
You are, sir, an amateur. What you do is you get in, you pay for your ticket, and you go down and you sit down and you wait till the film's just starting and it's all nice and dark. Then you go down to the fire exit, open the fire exit, let all your friends in.
Did you hear that?
We
He
did that
paid for his ticket. Sucker.
I just wear a bulky
What are you talking
coat,
about?
had
I didn't pay
bottle
for the
of
ticket.
wine
My
in
parents
in
paid
my
for the
inside
ticket.
pocket.
My 10 friends didn't pay. We all chipped in, a penny. And
It's storytelling. I mean, and particularly if these movies make so much money that some of that money trickles down to other directors that are part of the studios to make the more artsy, more in-depth character study movies as well, then I'd say that's a good thing.
But originally films were made from books. If you think of the 20s and 30s.
It's a comic
40s,
book.
No,
Books. Book. It's a comic book.
And now they're doing comic books.
Yeah, if you look at classic literature, a lot of that was published in serial form in magazines. So technically speaking, you could say stuff like David
Dickens.
Copperfield.
Like Dickens,
yes. Those were comic books because they were serialized. They
Yes.
weren't published as one big thick novel.
So, how do you think the trend will continue? So, really, what I'm interested in is what comes next. What's after comic books?
Well,
If
eventually-
they based it on old-fashioned books, if you will, and then comic books. What's next, Lewis?
Video games. It's already started. There's a whole universe of stories that have been developed in video games since the.
Yep.
Well, I go back to the early '60s is when video games really started.
Yeah, I don't know that you can do much with Pong, but you could probably come up with something.
Well, think about it. The roguelike
Legend
games.
of Zelda. Give me some Link.
We're
I mean,
doing
like,
Exactly.
seriously,
All right, let's go for Jane.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's a really brilliant idea. I hadn't even thought of that, but no, this would be it because, okay, so remember when Batman came out in 1989, right? Okay, it was fun, it was brilliant, it was cool, and the great actors, and it was amazing. And then it kind of had an apex peak, and then it trailed, and then all of a sudden, Iron Man came out. And we were like, oh, there we go. That's a comic book, right? That's a comic book hero. And it's doing that thing again where it's peaked and it's kind of trailing off. So what we got, Thor, Love and Thunder. I was like, it's okay, you know? So I'm waiting for the peak, and maybe it is the video games because there are so many people out there who are attached to these games, who have loved them for decades. So yeah, maybe so. Because they have an epic story too, and that's really it, isn't it? An epic story. An epic story with brilliant characters, and I don't know.
Cassidy,
Okay, so
where are we going to go next?
video games. I agree because Five Nights at Freddy's. Hopefully, it's only been like a couple years after they said it was gonna be a thing. Also, there's video game animated series like Arcane, which was amazing and I loved it.
Well,
What
like
about you?
I'm with Lou. I think this trend is gonna keep going for like big time. They're doing like they mastered the recipes and they're doing like great, more deep, continuing stories. Even the DC usually was always lame movies from the seas. That's was my take. And Marvel was better, but even like I think they came like on that disparity again when they both grow. But DC like it's catching back on the game and gosh, like from when did they release V for Vendetta 2 or those things? That was like it's already we're talking about 15 years ago at least. V for Vendetta, the other one the Rorschach. What's the name of that?
The Rorschach Watchmen.
The Watchmen,
Yeah.
phenomenal what they're doing too on a series.
And it's also, don't
And-
forget out streaming, and because Netflix did the,
Oh, yeah.
the Sandman,
Sandman!
comic from Neil Gaiman. It
Here
was
we
just
go.
absolutely excellent.
And I mean, there is still a lot to explore.
I'm
But I
interested
thi-
in
I
films.
think-
Films I think are coming. Or that I haven't. Are things like drone wars. You
Yeah.
know, we're seeing so much of with what's going on in Ukraine, drones. You know, the Americans using drones in Iraq and Afghanistan and places like that. I wonder if there's going to be films made around drones.
Well, I mean, there is already a lot of like from
That's Terminator.
Westworld, and they are producing the same Westworld people. They have a new release that there is a lot of that is like a futuristic, actually London in 2050.
You could argue Tron.
Oh, the
But-
Peripheral? Is that the one you're thinking?
I like
yes,
Tron.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I
but the
haven't seen
new
it yet.
I know the new trend. In a few years, they're gonna get all done. They're gonna go pinball machines, and they're gonna make storylines from pinball machines.
Pinball machines.
Yeah.
Meredith, what do you think? What think you?
With regard to the whether or not the trend will continue, I mean, it absolutely is going to continue just because of the fact that there is a wealth of material there for them to draw from. I mean, it's been around since, the 50s when Stanley created Marvel, I think. And I'm 100% here for it to continue to last just because I think comic books give you like a completely different perspective on the world. Like Stanley was talking about like separatism and segregation and all of that stuff without saying that he was talking about it. And like he pulled you in because you were super fascinated by the characters. And there's so much out there. And actually, don't think video games is where we're headed next. I think anime is actually where we're headed next, to be quite honest with you right now.
I can get behind that, yeah.
Like actual live action anime movies being done is kind of like where I think everything's going.
I
It's
thought there
huge
was a
trend
film,
right now.
you'll be able to tell me, I've got you, Julian. There was a film with Angelina Jolie in it, and it was something so-and-so and the something of tomorrow. And it was sort of part live action and part, what do you call it, CGI, where they had aircraft carriers in the sky.
It wasn't Angelina Jolie. It was Jude Law. It was, I can't think of the female lead, but it was not Captain Planet, but it's Captain something.
Captain Marvel.
No.
So, I think that as long as they can keep getting good movies and people are gonna go and watch them, it's gonna be great. Because I know they're pretty profitable. Because there's, like you said, there's people who have been who've experienced this and been close to this for a lot of their lives, especially if they make good live action of Black Adam. Black Adam was a really good movie, and I'm guessing a lot of people saw it because they're like, oh my god, I love Black Adam, my favorite comic book person. And then they go see it and they're like, wow, that was really good, I can't wait for the next one of these. And also, like you said, there is so much source material to draw from, and there's still some being made. So as long as it's profitable and it's, a thing they can do, they're going to do it. I did not foresee this ending within the next 20 years. And where I think it's going to go next is one of two things, which is either video games like live action ones like Uncharted, or video game shows.
I push back on you saying video games is the next thing, though, because we've been doing video games for a while, bro. Like, Angelina Jolie was freaking Lara Croft 15 years ago.
From my generation, which is Generation X, we have witnessed to some movies that was like great in the 80s, and I'm just talking about Top Gun. So I believe that there will be some movies which will not necessarily have a lot of CGIs. Speaking of that, for me also, I agree that the video games going to the movie will be a big thing and very profitable. For example, I could imagine if they will do the GTA movie, Grand Theft Auto, I think it will be a hit. Like
which game?
Grand
GTA?
Theft
No,
Auto,
like which
GTA.
game? Like on San Andreas? On
Well,
5?
any of them, right?
Oh
I
my
mean, they
God,
can
he
do
wants to know the
like
exact
now
one.
1, 2, 3, 4, But I believe there is a big nostalgia about action movie, the one that I was grown up in the 80s. Type of movie with Stallone, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and some of
the
these.
helicopters.
Yeah, exactly, like Muscles movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme, etc. I think people are a little bit sick from all the CGI that are using very heavily nowadays, especially Marvel, and they want to see something real, like some real cinema. Speaking of that, I could not say that, for example, Matrix was not a great movie. Although there was a lot of CGI in it. But I guess the idea and the idea of the movies is very important for me. It's not just only CGI, it's the whole entertainment. So I believe that the trend definitely will be to use some of the video games, and this will be a top kind of blockbusters movie in the future. But also, I strongly believe that the movies type of Top Gun, which will show the real thing, will also be very popular. That's my opinion.
I can concur as far as like Gen X people, right? They want the real. They bring back the real. Yeah, and we appreciate that, and it could also become a trend. Like if you bring back the real, like. Man, have you seen Ip Man? Wow.
Ip Man 1
wow.
4, right?
I
so
mean,
many.
wow. It is so fantastic. And you give them real like that, and they all of a sudden, like, their mouths are agape, and they're just, like, so into it. But they're also so mesmerized by CG and give it better, give it bigger, give it louder. You know, I'm like, it's just, I don't know. I could see them doing both. I don't know.
As another Gen Xer, I love the effects, but it depends on how much you use it. I mean, because when you talk about real, you get something like, you mentioned Ip Man. I'll mention something like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Swordsman 2, where, you know, people are flying through the air. There's lots of wire work. I mean, the stuff that's going on is absolutely, totally unrealistic, you know, but it's a heck of a lot of fun, mostly because the story is really good. And so, you know, I was to mention when I was talking with Lou, I love the old Godzilla movies, you know, and even when I was a kid watching what I knew was a guy in a suit crushing a bunch of toy tanks and towns, it still was just a heck of a lot of fun, you know. That it's that willing suspension of disbelief, and, you know, as long as the story's good and the acting is good, pretty much, you know, I can do, you know, effects for me are like, if they're
Evo.
Well, first of all, I can't believe Godzilla wasn't real. This is ridiculous. You crushed my.
Only
crushed my
Mothra was
soul.
real.
You crushed my soul. A man in a suit, trampling toy tanks. I just so many illusions have been destroyed now. But no, I think a movie is a story. It's simply a story. Doesn't matter how much CGI you have. If the story is not good, if the characters are paper thin, it's not going to work. Some comic books are good, some comic books are unbearable, some comic characters are exhausted.
Strong feelings?
I can live 500 years without missing a Spider-Man movie. I do not want to see another fucking Spider-fucking-Man movie. This is so tiresome, so ridiculous, so stupid. I'm so tired. There's nothing new that they can tell me about Spider-Man.
Bro, you are crushing my
Nothing.
feelings right now.
Yes,
Stop it.
yes.
Stop
like that
it.
with
Because
Batman.
I
Yeah.
need Miles Morales back in my life.
Do you
I
have
need
a thing-
more Spider
How do you
Pig.
feel about the new
And-
Spider-Verse?
Okay. So the multiverse issue is another issue. The multiverse. I've watched maybe 6 or 7 multiverse movies recently. I, at this point, want to travel to another universe where there are no multiverse movies at all. And I don't want to ever see another multiverse
How is this dude
movie.
your best friend, dude?
Doctor Strange, has maybe one of the most talented actors, Benedict Cumberbatch, one of the most talented actors in the world, a royal Shakespearean actor.
From England.
He couldn't save that abomination that was the last Doctor Strange. It was freaking ridiculous. Just overpopulated with ridiculous characters. You get lost in the plot line is confusing. It didn't work at all. Comic books, though, can be great stories. The very first stories told were comic books. They were cave books, but they were comic books. Those were stories told in pictures, and I think comic books can be brilliantly told stories. Watchmen is a work of literature.
It's a graphic novel.
It is just work of literature. It's outstanding work of literature. Sandman, likewise, just a fantastic work
Akira.
of literature. What is the new trend? I think what's going to happen also is things that are extremely popular can be put into movies. Things that have millions and millions of viewers. So I fully anticipate social media characters to become characters in movies. Like, for example, Randy Rainbow. He can be weaved into a story. Even like TikTok characters, like the guy that was riding his skateboard, listening to Fleetwood Mac. Do you remember that guy? That was just a fascinating character. You can grab that character, give him a backstory, give him beginning, development, and end, and it becomes a movie. Anything can be made in a movie that's intriguing and has a backstory. Cassidy, 10 minutes ago, walked around the table and stole a French fry from Julian's French fry basket. Whoa. Julian protested. He tried to stop her. There was a little bit of a scuffle. And ultimately, Cassidy succeeded. A French fry
Well, she's my
changed possession. And I think that is a story that can be made. Anything can be made into a
L.
movie that has a little bit of conflict, that has a beginning, development, and end, and it can be fleshed out and turned into a movie. So yeah, I think that it's going to happen.
Everybody has had their say. We're going round and round, but I have a question, and that is, when is the first Trump movie going to be made?
It's gonna be in a couple of years.
I thought
but
there
it's
was
gonna be
already
formatted like the Dahmer movie, like the new one. I mean,
I would make the argument that the Trump movie was made 15 years ago called Idiocracy, and second,
Amen.
that a movie like specifically about Trump is probably in the works right now, and we're just waiting for the movies have generally like a 5 to 10 year turnaround time, and so I would be shocked if we don't see sometime within the next 1 to 5 years the first movie about Trump. The interesting thing will be whether or not it is pro or anti-Trump.
Okay, next issue. Interestingly, apparently some guy down in Florida made an announcement last night. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for the Democrats? And I'm going to ask another foreigner, if I might. Who shall I ask, Alex? Are you a permanent resident, or are you a citizen, or what are you?
Well, that's complicated. So I am Canadian citizen, and I'm working as a.
Oh, you're working illegally, are you?
No, I'm working legally in US, but.
That wall didn't stop you from getting here, huh?
Trump is very interesting character, and just back to the previous questions, if there will be a movie soon for Trump, I think it can be named a Trump swindler, like a Tinder swindler, because the way how he's approaching the politics reminds me about this famous documentary on Netflix about the guy who is swindling these women. And he's very good in what he's doing, and I don't think he's a politician, to be honest. I think he's a businessman. He runs the campaign as a business entity, and he tried to run the country as a business, but
He's not even a good
unfortunately,
businessman.
Amen.
That's
Thank
the
you. I was
exactly.
waiting on somebody to say it.
He
He's
was
a con man.
He was,
That part.
believe me, I believe it was like 3 or 4 times he filed for bankruptcy. Correct me if I'm wrong. From all his 3 times. Okay. Is it a good or bad thing for Democrats? I think it's a good thing. And the reason that I believe so is that Trump is predictable. From the 4 years that he runs the office to the actions that he did after he lost the campaign, I think, if the Democrats can play the cards right, they can win the next elections. Now, who will gonna be the new president from the Democrats? That's something that I don't know, but I think it's a good thing for the Democrats. That's my opinion.
And while we've got him here, I have to ask, are you proud of your Prime Minister for how he dealt with the Chinese president?
To be honest, I'm naturalized Canadian from, let's say 7 years, and I'm not really following the Canadian politics. But the way, originally, I live in Calgary, which is a Alberta province. So it's one of the richest province in Canada because of the oil sands that they encountered, I think 10 or 20 years ago. Anyway, but the father of Justin Trudeau, whose name is Pierre Trudeau, was a prime minister a long time ago from Quebec. Quebec is the only one province in Canada that is a French-speaking province. So it's francophone.
With the wife that doesn't wear knickers.
Right.
What?
So
he knows what I'm talking about.
Trust it to the English.
Justin Trudeau is. I don't think he's doing a good job for Canadians. Let's put it this way.
No, my question was, President Xi turned up and said, "Oh, you shouldn't have released all that stuff." And he said in Canada, we do.
Shall I do this closer to the mic? Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't think he has to say anything about that. I mean, that's my opinion.
Okay, moving on. Lewis.
I don't know. I know that I don't have the same fear that he's going to drag this party down with him that I did before, because it was super salient to me when one of the morning head talk show people said Trump has basically failed the last 3 elections. Like, he lost his midterm, he lost the 2020 election, and every candidate that he backed in 2022 ultimately failed. That was a sobering idea, and I feel kind of like an abused spouse in thinking that things are going to get better, but I'm hopeful now for the first time in 7 years. If we go back, we can literally go back to 2015 with me on this podcast saying, not only is he going to be president, but we're not going to be able to get rid of him once he becomes president. And right now, I'm probably more hopeful than I've been at any other point that whatever magic he had has evaporated or at least been mitigated. That doesn't mean to say I'm not terrified of what's going to come in Trump version 2.0, but I think that the dawn is done.
Chris.
I think ultimately it probably will be a good thing for Democrats. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen recently, just today, I believe it was ABC News. I saw a clip, and funny enough, it was through Twitter, but they were reporting that people were trying to leave while he was giving his speech, and security was stopping them so that there wouldn't be, a vision that people were not into what he was saying.
Well,
and
as you say, Sean Hannity actually pulled away from the speech. Said we'll come back to his speech in a minute.
Yeah, and when Lewis says 2.0, there is no 2.0. Trump he's a one-note guy. I mean, in this speech, as I've read about it, he was talking about 2020 again, and how terrible it was that he didn't win. Back then
he did. It was rigged.
Yeah. Well, if
he won,
if he
won,
if he did win, then he can't run in 2024. But
silly Chris.
But I think that it's going to be interesting to see how the Republican Party handles this. I mean, I think ultimately they will nominate him, and I really hope the Democrats are smart and run somebody other than Joe Biden against him. Mm-hmm. But there's a cadre.
What about Hillary Clinton?
No, absolutely not. Someone young. I am tired of frickin' boomers in the fucking government. I want some more Gen Xers, even though the Gen X politicians we have right now are absolute crap. There's got to be, and I wouldn't mind having some millennials and some Zers, more of them running and getting into government, because it's time to turn over, because a lot of the problems we have right now is because we have a bunch of frickin' old people running the government. I mean, Pelosi's got to go, Schumer's got to go, McConnell's got to go, Grandma's got to go.
Sad, isn't it?
There really needs to be a maximum age. You got to retire.
Fernando,
I'll get off my soapbox.
Save me.
Okay, man, this is big BS. This guy, he gotta be indicted like very, very soon. For all the crap he did. However, like you also ask if there is a movie coming, right? For Trump, I heard that there is one that's they're cooking already editing. It's the Golden Shower and the Golden Corral.
Oh yeah, that one. Ivo, what do you think?
So I think Trump is the only person Biden can beat. And ironically, Biden is the only person that Trump can beat. So we have a very interesting situation. I think Trump, in a way, is like a superhuman because he's done some things that no one else in the history of the world is able to do. He, for example, bankrupted a casino. Nobody has ever bankrupted a casino. Do you understand how hard it is
No.
to bankrupt a casino? The house always wins. There
People
is
just come
no
in and
other
give you money.
option.
See, you're moving into the next segment, the Dave Chappelle segment. I'm like, he like literally brought it forward. He goes, nobody's ever heard somebody tell the truth the way this fucking rich white guy has ever told the truth.
I don't know if bankrupting a casino is telling the truth. This is a completely different topic. But the guy is incredibly inept at almost everything. Proudly has not read a book in his life. I do not trust people that don't read and have never read. He tried to do away with democracy in this country. This country is built on democracy. That's the concept of the United States of America. He tried so hard to dismantle the very concept of the United States of America. Let's get rid of it, he said. No, let's get rid of it. We don't need democracy. We need autocracy. We need oligarchs and autocracy. That's what's going to run this
It's
country.
a completely different topic, but he's still doing the same thing.
Yes,
he
of
misdirects, he redirects people, and he's a fucking con man. I mean, like, that's all there is to it, right?
Of course, he's a
Okay.
confidence man, and in a way, I think Democrats are happy that Florida man announced that he intends to lose another election in 2024 yesterday, and I am sure that they will benefit from it, or that's really their only chance if Biden runs, is really if Trump runs, because Ron DeSantis is going to disintegrate Joe Biden. He's going to kill him. And the Republican Party knows this, and they hope that, Ron DeSantis will announce and he will be selected. But Donald Trump, to me, is not an interesting character to a previous question for a movie or a book. Why? Because he's very one-dimensional. What you guys said.
I wasn't thinking so much about him, but the what happened.
He's not a conflicted. He's not a conflicted character. To me,
he's a narcissistic sociopath.
For me, to me, as a writer, as an author, he's not interesting. It doesn't. There's no internal conflict. He's very one-dimensional. He just does the same thing. There's no internal conflict. There's no duality to this man. He's just a very, very paper-thin character to me. And because of that, he's dangerous. He's a sociopath, like you said, Jeremy. A very dangerous sociopath.
I didn't say it. It wasn't me. I didn't say it.
For America, another term of this guy will be devastating. Like Alex said, that he wanted to run the country as a business. Well, he bankrupted every business he touched. And sure enough, we were about to file for bankruptcy at the end of his insane 4-year term, where his chief of staff was running with his hair on fire, and everything was failing. And just like every other business that he did, except for The Apprentice, which was not run by him. It was run by Mark Burnett, who's a genius producer.
He was just a figurehead.
Meredith.
Yes, that's my name.
What do you think about Trump and his re-election? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I think that couple things. I don't think that we need to get rid of all baby boomers in Congress. I think that is actually contradictory to the whole idea of representative government, because there are baby boomers that live in this country. I just don't think all of them need to be baby boomers, for one. So, because a lot of those people are the same people who stood up and supported upholding government. So that there's a certain understanding that generation has of duty over everything else. And so I don't know that that's quite as present in Gen Xers, or quite as present in Gen Zers, or quite as present in millennials. So that would be a concern. I just think it should be more mixed. But additionally, besides that, as far as Trump, I think it's a good thing for the Democrats. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be a good thing for very long, because he will win the primary. There's nobody that's going to out-primary him. Their base is still, the Republican electorate base is absolutely wholly tied to him. So until, he has over 30% of their electorate base. So I think it's a concern. I think, honestly, at this point, the Republicans are probably hoping he'll get indicted just as much as anybody else, because, even little Scaredy Running Pants was like, oh, this is the funeral. That's Josh Hawley, by the way. Little Scaredy Running Pants. Mr. Fist in the Air said that it was the funeral for the Republican Party as they know it. And I'm like, we were watching that a long time ago.
So apparently there is somebody called Chapelle. Dave Chappelle. Oh,
Stop
Dave
it.
Chappelle.
That's just disrespectful.
Dave Shrapnel. Dave Chappelle hosted SNL last
Please
week.
stop mispronouncing that man's name.
There was a backlash from what some perceived as anti-Semitic troops in his monologues. This week, Jon Stewart defended Dave and comics in general. Do you think Jon Stewart is right?
I absolutely think Jon Stewart is right. Jon Stewart was just recently, within the past year and a half, awarded the Mark Twain, award. Thank you. And he gave this most brilliant speech about how comedians are under fire, et cetera, et cetera. But if you watch the SNL monologue that you're talking about, Dave Chappelle is Dave Chappelle. Brilliant, amazing, and I'm like, you just cannot help but laugh. I mean, like, this guy. And by the way, the anti-Semitic bullshit that's going around, he said, he unfolds a piece of paper. I've got a statement. And he reads the statement about how he stands with the Jewish community, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, and that's Kanye, how you buy more time.
Buy yourself some time.
It was so fucking brilliant. I love it. I'm sorry. I love Dave Chappelle. Everything he says is true. It's always true. And that's why I love him. And Jon Stewart says the same thing. He goes, comedians are here. I mean, like, how ironic is this? That he was awarded the Mark Twain Award. And the Mark Twain Award is always based on how artists use bullshit to tell the truth, right? I mean, like, that's basically it. Dave Chappelle does what every great comedian does. He tells the truth through a joke, and he's saying that we're all under fire. That, the comedians are all under fire, and of course they are.
An interesting way to start the Trump movie would be at the correspondence dinner when they started to mock Trump. Yeah. And he wasn't.
And he wasn't having it.
He wasn't having. Politician. He wasn't there yet.
Obama was making fun of him.
Yeah,
That's
what he didn't like. Meredith,
What's up?
what think you about Dave Chappelle?
I think everybody needs to lay the hell off Dave Chappelle. Everybody gets pissed off when a black man stands up and speaks his truth. That's pretty much how I feel about it. Like, I mean, dude was not lying. Like, and I don't think anything he said was inappropriate. I think that everything he said was pretty damn funny, and it's his job to be pretty damn funny. So, I mean, do we give him a bonus for being that funny? Like, because I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, look, can you explain to me this then? I watched it. I didn't watch the SNL, but I did watch him give his monologue. And I grew up in a school where there were a lot of Jewish boys. And, I've often wondered myself why people are so terrified of saying anything about something Jewish.
The Jewish population has, again, lived through people being fucking quiet while they were literally shipped off to die. So that's something that we haven't reckoned with, in much the same way that it's difficult for white folks to hear about the racist shit that they did. It's difficult for white folks to come to terms with the anti-Semitic shit that they did. Or a better way to say it for me is insensitive shit that they allowed to have happen. And the fact that they played into the hatred that Jews had lived with for years and years and years before that. So that's why you can't say those two words together, the Jews, because historically it has led to some horrible shit. So, my feeling is, that's something everybody needs to reckon with, not just for the question of, like, how we address the Jews. But in fact, what you are talking about too, Meredith, when it comes to black folk, like just an immediate example that pops into my head
Addressing
is
humanity. And it's,
Exactly. But like, you can't say the word thug without immediately thinking of black males, young black men. And it doesn't matter if that black male is doing the exact same thing that a white male is doing. If a black male is doing it, it's a thug. And if it's a white guy doing it, it's just a white guy having fun or white guy being himself.
Can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
I'm curious. Do you think that white people as a whole, Caucasians, get more offended about, like, for example, like we said, it is okay to say the blacks or whatever, but you can't say the Jews. Do you think that there's like a level of like, well, they're also white people, so maybe we feel a little bit more sensitive to them?
No.
Or also, do you think it's about like the religion aspect of it as well? Because there's a lot, like, conservative white people are very tied to a religious
hypocrisy. So I think about this just sort of like sort of from a meta perspective, or as meta as I can be about it, I think. And no, I don't think that it is that mainstream society, code word for white, mainstream society is more sensitive to the reputation of Jewish people because they are also white. I think it is because it is a particular group of people that have recently suffered this unimaginable tragedy that quite literally no other subsection of first world society has suffered, with the, if not like, implicit blessing of mainstream society. Read white people.
So just like keeping black people down, though, that wasn't
keeping
like a
black
recent
people down.
Thing,
no,
like
no.
Murdering
But it's
George
different.
Floyd, all that.
No. It's different when you can say, I'm going to pick on George Floyd because he was doing, like, the reason that whenever you see one of the news stories about George Floyd, you notice how they lead the story with what he was doing that causes the police to have to be involved with him, either whether or not it's true. Oh, he had drugs on him. Oh, he was resisting arrest. That's always a part of the story. It's easy to paint their actions in those situations as somehow justified. There's no doing that with the question of what Hitler did to the Jews. And
is it just because we're ignoring it, though? I mean, like, honestly, there are black people that are going through the same, like, they're getting murdered by police. They're doing, like,
but this wasn't getting murdered by police. This was a government entity.
Sorry, the police not funded by the government?
No. I think you're not. I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying. There is a difference between a government saying we are going to pick this group of people out and kill them, like, as their stated goal, as opposed to what you and I deal with on a day-to-day basis, which is this notion that we're going to treat everybody fair, and if somehow you don't get treated fair, it's your fault.
Idea.
So let me first thing is, remember that America is a very young country. Don't forget that the Catholics didn't like the Protestants and did horrendous things.
This is different. I hear what you're saying, and quite literally, like, every subsection of society goes through some trials and tribulations. There has not in recent history been a group of people that a government has said it is our job to eradicate this group of people as their stated goal, and had the rest of the world not respond.
So
period.
Let's move on to another. But does that give a religion the right to treat other people, let's say Palestinians, for example, the way that they do? And so I've always been interested in the difference between being anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic, because a lot of people think it's the same thing, and it isn't. So, Chris.
I'm sorry. Jules has been raising his hand for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, he waves all the time. It's Chris's turn.
Okay.
Then Julian.
I would like to...
Do be quick, because Julian needs to come in.
I'd like to give my time to Julian.
Well done, you, sir.
Check and
well
mate.
done, you.
Oh, you better use this well, Julian. Thinking of high things from you.
What I think.
Okay, Chris.
Agree. They had a very recent historical tragedy that happened on a really large group of people, and it was one of the most casualties reported. And also, they have the highest amount of hate crimes because others. Okay, well, they get the highest amounts that are actually
Reported
dealt with.
hate crimes?
Yeah.
Please say reported.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you're black and you report a hate crime, they don't care.
They ignore you?
Yep, they ignore
And
you.
They somehow blame it on you?
Yep, but if you're Jewish and you report a hate crime, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take that seriously." And so they have.
So,
the,
out of interest, if what would you do about that?
What do you mean?
Well, if you were the mayor of New York, what would you do about that?
Do about what?
The hate crimes against
Minorities.
the minority communities.
It depends. If I was told who did the hate crime, I would punish them because that's bad, and then I would.
But is it about hiring more police?
No, it's about having people. It's about having people who figure out who did the hate crimes and punishing them accordingly, especially discrimination. Like we already have laws that may or may not work sometimes to where if you're discriminated against in the workplace or somewhere, you can sue, for racial discriminations. And I think we need to apply that to all minorities, and we need to have a way to document it and make sure it's not faked. Because while I don't think people would do this, there is going to inevitably be someone who will try and misuse this and take, I don't know, some innocent person and say, this person did a hate crime on me, so get them arrested.
Okay, so let's now go to Chris. But if we enact laws, I don't want you to answer this question, I just want you to think about it, okay? If we enact laws, as you just said, does that mean we applies to everybody? Don't answer the question, just think about it, Chris.
Going back to the original question about, and particularly kind of focusing in on jokes, one of the signs of being a mature person is being able to laugh at yourself. So I really think that jokes about others are acceptable provided that they are respectful. Don't make cheap jokes. Really think about what it is you want to say to make the joke. Make it about something that this person has done, that is kind of, I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of here, that, it's kind of a funny juxtaposition, not just, oh, this person is this, isn't that funny, to use the classic, oh, they got a big nose, or, oh, they like watermelon, blah, blah, blah. Those are stupid, cheap jokes. You can be respectful. And I know I'm in dangerous territory now. Let's see, where was I
Walk
going?
right off the edge. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Woohoo!
Yippee.
For me, the real problem isn't kind of racial. It's more tribal because Lou was talking about he couldn't think of any other government that basically said, and we need to get rid of these people.
Many governments.
I immediately remembered Rwanda and the Hutus and the Tutsis.
So again, my point is that for the Jewish folks, they are considered part of the first world. They're considered part of the first world, and they are the only subsect of society that a first world government said it's our job to eradicate this group of people, and the rest of the first world did not respond.
Well, I agree. They did eventually, but not until, they kind of realized that it was,
Not until Germany tried to take over Germany, or the Axis powers invaded their land.
Yeah, but the true horrors of the Holocaust didn't begin until, after they started some invading. I mean, it was initially in Poland where they just, were taking people out and digging trenches and shooting them.
And the rest of the world was fine with it.
I know, we turned away boatloads of Jewish children. But my point is not so much that it's a racial thing, in that it's more of a tribal thing, in terms of the fact that we have yet to reach the point where we see every human being on the planet as a member of one tribe. That we have to split ourselves into this Christian, Jew, black, white, Asian, purple, whatever, despite the fact that, hey, really, we're human beings. I mean, I'm type O negative.
Except for the British.
And no, we got to accept the British.
So
No, we do not.
So we need. I know Alex and Eva are desperate to jump in here. Alex,
Well, that's
without French accent. I mean,
Thank you. I mean, I have to admit that I did not listen to the Dave Chappelle monologue on the Saturday Night Live, but about the subject of Jewish, I mean, I have a lot of, not a lot, but I have quite a few colleagues from USSR, which was the socialist Soviet Union, that were Jewish, and they were refugees during the communist era. So I used to work with them, and I have only good things to say about people that from Jewish religion that I work with. However, I believe it's the hatred towards Jewish people comes also from the pure fact that a lot of people from Jewish ancestor or religion are very I should say successful in the way of society. They're wealthy, and they're into the business that they kind of make good money, and people really, the average person kind of try to find the reason why is that. And that comes from, just pure kind of envy, I think. And also, it's not, I shouldn't say it's religious things or it's racial things. It's pure envy. That's how I feel. And of course, what's happened in the World War II, it's unimaginable. Because actually, if you hear one of the Adolf Hitler's speech, he's speaking about extermination of Jewish. So you can exterminate rodents. You just you don't kill them. You just evaporate them. So it was really crazy things that happened in the World War II, and I hope it will never happen in the future. So. Now it's very sensitive, and I agree with that. Sometimes it's overblown. Wherever you joke or give a joke for a Jewish people are very sensitive because of that, and I think it's exaggerated. That's my opinion.
Ivo, round us up.
First of all, about Dave Chappelle, I think it was completely unjustified. I listened to the monologue several times. It was poignant and funny, and it's just observational comedy. There was really, I found absolutely nothing offensive about this monologue. I feel bad for a lot of comedians nowadays because really comedy and stand-up comedy is based on generalizations. If you look at a great observational comedy, even completely clean comedy like Seinfeld, all of this stuff. Hey, what is up with cab drivers in New York? What's up with beer commercials? Everything is about generalization and extracting comedy from a general concept. And you take away this from comedians, they don't have their craft anymore. And so this woke stuff has to end. We need to allow comedians to be comedians. If somebody goes really overboard and becomes abrasive and, like Chris said, makes simplistic vile and aggressive jokes, I understand it. But you can't take the art away from the artist just because they're joking about something. There was nothing really hateful, nothing really hurtful in his monologue about the Jewish community. What Lewis said is also true, that this is a population that has been persecuted, herded like animals, and killed by the millions. And they have suffered so much. This was genocide. They have suffered so much, and it's understandable that they're very, very sensitive to tropes and stereotypes, which are ancient. Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice, is packed with horrible tropes and stereotypes about Jewish people, but it's old, it's been there, it stays. I wish, like Chris said, he had the best statement, I think, that we are all members of the same human race. We all have the same feelings, pain, aspirations, dreams, disappointments, triumphs. We're all people, human beings, and we have to someday, hopefully, understand this before it's too late.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are having the same problem that ex-President Mr. Trump had last evening, where people are trying to leave and our security is stopping them. Particularly since we do have some sponsorship tonight. And I'm going to ask Ivo to, because we have to keep this thing short, we've got to edit it down anyway. I'm going to ask Ivo, could you, did Susan do her stuff this week?
Susan has finally came back from
because I thought we fired her.
Yeah, we tried to fire her, but we can't because she's not really hired. We are not paying her anything.
Volunteer.
So Susan from our marketing department just has complete control over our show.
It's because she fancies you, isn't it?
Well, we don't know what's going on. Maybe she's running the show behind the curtain. Maybe she's the sorceress of Oz.
She's off with Kath tonight, I think
we
that's what it is.
We don't know what's happening there, but yeah, we can't fire her. We've tried it. We've tried it before, and it doesn't work. So Susan has something. She sent me something. So we'll see what it is. Let's see.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Out comes the copy.
Yeah. That's relatively good news. It's apparently this time our marketing department has contacted several companies to sponsor us, not just one. And what's interesting here, what Susan's saying, is that because the elections are over and all the political action committees are now unemployed, they're going to provide the copy. The attack ads have shifted to our show. That's the only place left for them after the election, so they're going to read the copy. It's going to be basically election ads. So let's see. First we have... the first company is apparently sponsoring specifically Alex, our new member of the panel. And Alex is sponsored by something wonderful, guys. It's Happy Farm Eggs. He's sponsoring Alex.
Great.
That's wonderful news. And let's see what the copy is going to be. Let me see where the recording is.
Happy Farm Eggs has sponsored Alex against the best interests of American Christians. Why is Wednesday night undressed benefiting from aborted fetuses?
Wow.
Alex's radical pro-choice agenda has allowed the destruction of millions of young lives. 9 out of 10 well-compensated experts agree that these precious chicken lives were terminated in the last trimester. Happy Farm Eggs and Alex are literally scrambling for votes at the expense of beautiful fetal souls. Wednesday Night Undressed. Merciless, hard-boiled campaign against the unborn is doomed. The American voters know better. Reject the darkness and embrace the sunny side.
Oh my God.
Alex is an embryo-eating traitor of pure Christian values. He is the Eggs Benedict Arnold of America.
Paid for by Political Action Committee, Citizens for Madness, and the Association for Production of Handmaidens and Their Tales. I'm Susan for Marketing, and I approve this message.
Jeremy Taylor apparently is sponsored by rock legend Ted Nugent.
Oh, cool.
There he goes.
Wednesday Night Undressed and their evil British puppeteer, Jeremy Taylor, are supposedly sponsored by right-wing Republican hero Ted Nugent. But is he really? In a recent interview, when asked to name one single Ted Nugent song, he responded with a high-velocity projectile vomiting. Jeremy Taylor is a consumer of conservative art on paper only. He does not own a single Roger Waters album. Why? We know why. Because Roger Waters built a beautiful, beautiful wall, and also rejected liberal academia by proclaiming inelegant double negative. We don't need no education. Furthermore, at his latest garage sale, Jeremy Taylor was observed by a patriotic garage sale watcher as he gave out for free all of his Sting records. Does Jeremy Taylor support illegal immigration? He clearly hates Sting, who was a legal alien, an Englishman in New York. Jeremy Taylor, yes, he discarded unceremoniously not only his Sting's records, but also those of Sting's former band. It is clear he is trying to defund the police.
Paid for by the Association for Double Negatives. I'm Ted Nugent, and I approve this message.
Chris is sponsored apparently by Rice-A-Roni.
The San Francisco treat.
And here I'll play the copy now.
Beware, America. Disguised as an American company, Rice-A-Roni has time and again proven that the rice used in all of its recipes is brown. Rice-A-Roni, a company with one single sinister agenda, replacing perfect white American rice with foreign-looking brown rice. It is time our voters take a hard look at Chris and his duplicitous intention to teach our children destructive, critical rice theory. At the voting booth, say no to Chris and Rice-A-Roni, a sanctuary city treat.
Paid for by the White Rice Power of America. I'm the white billionaire pretending to be Uncle Ben, and I approve this message.
Lewis, apparently sponsored by... Oh, that's good, Lewis. Apparently you are sponsored by... Good job, Susan, by Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. Nobody can hate Multiple Sclerosis Foundation, right?
I can.
Mm.
I'll do it right now.
Okay.
You're killing your future career.
Well, let's play the copy.
Lewis, sponsored by the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation, an independent audit funded entirely by Steve Bannon, has determined that last week Lewis donated $13 for multiple sclerosis research. Multiple sclerosis, $13. Does Lewis support MS-13? Coincidence? Steve Bannon says no, and so will the American people, who will vote no to Lewis and his infectious caravan of violent, bloodthirsty Salvadoran gangsters. Lewis, good for criminals, bad for America.
Paid for by Political Action Committee, Imbeciles United. I'm Satan and I approve this message.
Oh, Fernando! Whoa! Sponsored by Goodyear Tires. Wow,
Oh.
Fernando. Nice. Let's play the copy.
Wednesday Night Undressed and their shadowy Brazilian wizard are sponsored by Goodyear Tires, a company that recommends 35 PSI. That's 35 pounds per square inch. That's right, you've heard correctly. Goodyear supports inflation. While hard-working American families are struggling to put food on the table, Fernando and Goodyear are openly embracing a policy that is guaranteed to boost hyperinflation. Fernando, Goodyear, and leftist radicals, there is no doubt their interests are in perfect alignment.
Paid for by Tires Not Named Goodyear. I'm Michelin and I approve this message.
Meredith is sponsored by Borders Bookstore. That's good. Borders is good.
Wednesday Night Undressed and Meredith are sponsored by Borders. America, brace yourself. This is a company that sells books. Or, as our dear leader, Donald J. Trump, calls them, the root of all evil. These vile, rectangular objects have been destroying conservative values for hundreds of years. Thankfully, Borders has been slowly going bankrupt since the emergence of Fox News. And that is a good thing. America only needs one book, and it can be found for free in every Motel 6 in our great land. Keep those border stores closed. We don't support open borders.
Paid for by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, evangelicals, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm Tucker Carlson and I approve this message.
And we have here, let's have Julian. Julian is sponsored
That's
by...
me.
Yeah, sponsored by PBS Television.
I love PBS.
Yes.
I love
Let's
PBS.
play.
I
Who
love
doesn't?
Dinosaur Train.
I mean,
You
who
look
can
just like
hate
George the
PBS?
Monkey.
I love Dinosaur Train.
I know. Let's read what the copy is. Let's play it.
America, keep your head on a swivel. Julian and Wednesday Night Undressed are intertwined with PBS Television. 9 out of 10 Marjorie Taylor Greene voters confirm that PBS is controlled by a demonic cabal of blood-guzzling liberals. Their children's shows are populated by frightening characters. There is Barney, a 9-foot-tall purple reptilian pedophile. Then there are the Teletubbies, genderless, psychedelic freaks who implanted government televisions in their stomachs. Respected news outlet QAnon confirms that those televisions broadcast only mainstream propaganda. Protect your kids from the Teletubbies. Their leader is the blood-curdling gay rights advocate, Tinky fucking Winky. Then we have Sesame Street, featuring a same-sex couple, Bert and Ernie. If you put them together, it's Bernie.
Sanders.
Sesame Street also features a menacing East European immigrant who teaches our children to count with a communist accent. And there's also a giant yellow transgender athlete. Another PBS show clearly funded by Soros is Dora the fucking Explorer. This meandering, undocumented immigrant has obviously overexplored our southern border and is encouraging others to invade first world countries without even mentioning a B2 visa. Just look at some of the other PBS shows: Arthur, Caillou, Thomas the Train, Sid, the Science Kid, Clifford, Splash and Bubbles, and even, wait for it, Donkey Hoodie. All of this begs the question, is there a single heterosexual character on PBS? Well, at least they have by Curious George. Julian and PBS. Great for the left, bad for America.
Paid by QAnon, OAN, Fox News, Parler, Truth Social, and Newsmax. I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
That's it.
Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to yet another Wednesday Night Undress, and all remains for me is to say thank you for listening. Thank you to our team, Jane, Julian, Meredith, Chris, Cassidy, Fernando, Ivo, Lewis, and Alex from Canada. Our engineer tonight, as always, is Neil Rasmussen, playing desperately hard with his knobs there, right on down. We won't be doing a show next week because of the American holiday thing that they insist on having every year. So thank you very much. Yay!
Yay!